Lynn Langerman, or whatever her maiden name was. Lynn attended St. Sibyl High School with Jessica Gray and Blake Langerman. Lynn often wrote letters to Jessica about liking Blake. She eventually ended up marrying him and they became journalists. One day they heard about a murder in the desert on the news and decided to investigate. They hired a pilot to fly them in a helicopter since the town couldn't be accessed by car. As they were filming, a flash of light caused their helicopter to crash and Lynn was taken by Sullivan Noth to his chapel. Noth's followers began to torture Lynn since they thought she had the Antichrist in her. Lynn briefly escaped and found Blake, but they were ambushed by the heretics while Lynn had a pain in her stomach. Lynn was taken by Val and her group of heretics into the mine facility. Lynn somehow got fully pregnant and was prepared for birth. Blake managed to reach the mines and get her out of there as a storm started and they began looking for shelter somewhere. They eventually settled for the chapel and Lynn managed to give birth but didn't make it, also saying there's nothing there with her dying breath. Ethan was a member of the Testament of the New Ezekiel who followed Sullivan Noth. He didn't get affected as much as the other members. His daughter Annalie got pregnant and he told her to leave the town so he wouldn't have to kill the baby. He soon came across Blake Langerman and took him to his house for some rest. Blake explained that Ethan's daughter was the reason he was there and he told Ethan she was alright. Ethan then had Blake rest in his cellar before getting a knock on the door. Ethan answered to Noth's most loyal follower Marta, who trashed his house and killed him. Blake then recorded the aftermath and thanked Ethan for keeping him safe. Corrigan was a member of the Testament of the New Ezekiel who followed Sullivan Noth. He first watched Blake Langerman enter Temple Gate as he backed into the darkness. He later ambushed Blake in a room with a corpse on a bed and threw him down a stairwell before chasing him. Blake ran to a dorm and barricaded the way he came, but Corrigan found another way in and Blake had to escape through there. Corrigan later poisoned himself along with the rest of the other Testament members. Josiah and Mary were heretics who got captured by the Testament of the New Ezekiel. Josiah had his eyes gorged out and got the word Judas carved on his chest before being placed on a wheel. Blake Langerman entered the chapel and Josiah asked Blake to kill him, but he refused and hid in a booth as Mary was brought in and placed on a rack to get Josiah to talk. Sullivan Noth tortured Mary until Josiah revealed that Val was in the mines, but Noth's followers killed them both anyway before leaving. Abby Williams attended St. Sibyl High School and played the guitar at the school concert in 1955 when she was in her sophomore year. The fathers of St. Sibyl High School worked as teachers at the school and had their photos hung around it. Ismail was a member of the Testament of the New Ezekiel who followed Sullivan Noth. He hid from the blood rain and was many who tried to get Lynn Langerman back but failed. He later met Lynn's husband Blake and told him how he tried to get Lynn back. He told Blake to escape before fleeing himself. He was either poisoned along with the others or killed by a heretic. Jean Thomas Pitty was a student at St. Sibyl High School. At the 1995 holiday concert, he played a triangle instrument. Johnny Wagner was a student at St. Sibyl High School. In his freshman year, he played the cymbals at the school's holiday concert. Lydia Dagan was a woman who owned a ranch for Sullivan Noth and his followers to stay at. She later lived alone after bodies were found and Noth fled the ranch after some of his followers were arrested. Pascal Morin attended the St. Sibyl High School winter concert as a guest in 1995. Patrick E. Dubik attended the St. Sibyl High School winter concert as the artist director for the chorale in 1995. The helicopter pilot was hired by Blake Langerman and his wife Lynn to fly them out to Temple Gate since they couldn't go by car. This was to investigate a murder case near the area. As they were flying, a flash of light blinded him and the helicopter crashed. Sullivan Noth and his followers found him and skinned him alive before tying him to a tree. Blake later saw this and realized he never got the guy's name. Tom was a member of the Testament of the New Ezekiel who followed Sullivan Noth. He was forced to kill his children. This tore him up to the point he killed himself after writing a letter for his wife, Ellie. Said later was discovered by Blake Langerman after he walked into the house, who also saw Tom's body at the table. Sullivan Noth's executioner was hired by him to kill anyone who became rituals. He mostly used a machete to and chased Blake Langerman alongside Corrigan through a series of buildings before Blake managed to escape. The executioner later poisoned himself along with Noth's other followers. And that's all the miscellaneous characters in Outlast 2. Yes, I'm in my kitchen again. But yeah, I know there weren't as many episodes as there were for Outlast 1 because there was like 14. What was it? The Outlast 1 character lore was like 14 episodes. This series is only 8. Though there might be a few bonus episodes if you want me to do like full in-depth guides of like the Testament to New Ezekiel, like their backstory. Even with the Scald and the Heretics, which I'll gladly do those because I did that with the variants from the first game and also the Murkoff Corporation. But yeah, that other than that, there's also the Outlast list, that the Outlast 2 list that I'm working on, which that might be up already, it might not be. I'm not sure. I'm like pre-recording a whole bunch of these episodes beforehand and then just scheduling them to be uploaded on the Thursday they're supposed to come out. So yeah, this is actually being recorded on the date where Marta's episode is coming out, where she's episode 5, I think. Yeah, she's episode 5. But yeah, that's basically for the Outlast 2 character lore series. I know I was a bit short, but let me know in the comments if you want me to do full lore videos on the Testament of New Ezekiel, Scald and Heretics. And check out the Outlast list if you haven't already, because again, I don't know when that's going up. Might go up with Jessica's episode, which is coming out next Thursday. Well, I mean, at the time I'm recording this, because this is pre-recorded after all the episodes. It's going to be... See, this is being recorded on June 30th, so Jessica comes out on July 7th, or came out on July 7th, because technically this is in the future. But yeah, enough rambling. That's it for this series. So please like, sub, and peace.